Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Tuesday, September 27th City Council Business Agenda Session. I will call this meeting to order, and Pledge of Allegiance or an invocation will be led by Councilwoman Hill.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For our invocation tonight, I'd like to share some thoughts from the writer Henry Nouwen. Henry Nouwen is considered one of the great spiritual writers, often considered a Christian mystic. This is about compassion. It's something that has been, I've been reading about this over the last week or so. If there is one notion that is central to all great religions, it is that of compassion. The sacred scriptures of the Hindus, Buddhists, Muslims, Jews, and Christians all speak about God as the God of compassion. In a world in which competition continues to be the dominant mode of relating among people, be it in politics, sports, or economics, all true believers proclaim compassion, not competition, as God's way. How is it possible to make compassion the center of our lives? As insecure, anxious, vulnerable, and mortal beings, always involved somehow and somewhere in the struggle for survival, competition seems to offer us a great deal of satisfaction. In the Olympics, as well as in the American presidential race, it is clear that winning is what is most desired and most admired. Still, Jesus says, "Be compassionate as your heavenly Father is compassionate." And throughout the centuries, all great spiritual guides echo these words. And this is a part that I underlined and that I thought, whoa, I got a lot to think about. Compassion, which means literally to suffer with, is the way to the truth that we are most ourselves, not when we differ from others, but when we are the same. Indeed, the main spiritual question is not, what difference do you make, but what do you have in common? It is not excelling, but serving that makes us most human. It is not proving ourselves to be better than others, but confessing to be just like others that is the way to healing and reconciliation. Compassion, to be with others when and where they suffer and to willingly enter into fellowship of the weak, is God's way to justice and peace among people. Is this possible? Yes, it is. But only when we dare to live with the radical faith that we do not have to compete for love, but that love is freely given to us by the one who calls us to compassion. And that is the writer Henry Nouwen from the book, Here and Now, Living in the Spirit. Thank you, Chairman, for the privilege. I move to the agenda, please.
Thank you very much for sharing those thoughts and those words. We have no special presentations this evening. We will entertain a motion on our minutes. Minutes have been motioned for approval. They have been seconded. Questions, comments on the minutes? We will accept those minutes without objection. Ordinances on final reading. Planning item A. Madam Clerk, please.
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code, Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone property located at 1511 Mulberry Street from R2 residential zone to UGC urban general commercial zone, subject to certain conditions.
Councilwoman Knoll, this is a final reading on this planning item. Have a motion to approve. I do have a second to that motion. Questions, comments before we vote? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item carries. Madam Clerk, ordinances on first reading. Finance item A, please.
An ordinance to amend the operations budget ordinance number 13840, known as the fiscal year 2022 through 2023 operations budget, so as to appropriate $1,382,573 from general fund contingency to various departments, amend sections 5 and 5A to reallocate appropriation between departments, amend section 7, pay plans to correct an error, and amend section 7D to reallocate positions. In order to amend the capital budget ordinance number 13841, known as the fiscal year 2022 through 2023 capital budget, so as to appropriate $1,500,000 to Chattanooga Neighborhood Enterprise from the Affordable Housing Trust Capital Project.
Dr. Burrs.
We're here to hear you. Can somebody please turn the microphones up so that we can hear, please?
You're not able to hear us?
No, not at all.
Mr. IT, we've had a very nice request to turn the volume up, please.
Thank you.
Are we up? How's that?
I can repeat.
I can hear you. I can't hear, Ms. Dolly.
You won't hear anybody until I hit their mics, ma'am.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's how this works.
Okay.
Thank you. Dr. Burrs, I believe you have the floor, ma'am.
Move approval.
Have a motion to approve. I do hear a second to that motion. Questions, comments before we vote? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Madam Clerk, 1 no. Planning item B. Madam Clerk,
An ordinance to amend Chattanooga City Code Part 2, Chapter 38 zoning ordinance, so as to rezone an unaddressed property located in the 1000 block of East 10th Street from URD2 residential detached zone to URM3 residential multi-unit zone.
is the applicant present? Is there any opposition present? Councilwoman Knoll, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I am recommending that we defer this for 2 weeks until October the 11th. I actually need to have a conversation with the developer.
I have a motion and a nod from the applicant for a 2-week deferral. I have a second for that motion. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Thank you. 2-week deferral to October the 11th.
11th.
Thank you, ma'am. Under resolutions, economic development, Madam Clerk, item A, please.
A resolution authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a lease agreement with Vincent Properties LLC in substantially the form attached for the use of approximately 1,200 square feet of office space by the Department of Parks and Outdoors at 221 River Street on a portion of tax map number 135E N003 for the term of 3 years with the option to renew for 2 additional terms of 3 years each, with rent of $2,500 per month during the initial term with the effective date of October 1, 2022.
Have a motion to approve by Councilwoman Hill. I do hear a second to that motion. Questions, comments before we vote? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Item carries. Madam Clerk, item B under community development, please.
A resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Community Development to apply for and, if awarded, accept a Department of Housing and Urban Development HUD Continuum of Care competition funds for rapid rehousing and supported services for literally homeless individuals and families for an amount not to exceed $284,040.
Have a motion to approve. I do hear a second to that motion. Questions, comments before we vote? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Item carries. Madam Clerk, under early learning, item C, please.
A resolution to provide services to 278 children through collaborations between Head Start, Early Head Start Grant, and Child Care Network Redlands, Hope City Academy, Chambliss Center for Children, Maurice Kirby, Purpose Point, Signal Centers, Child Care Network Hamel Road, Child Care Network Grace Road, Child Care Network 3rd Street, Volunteer Center Chambliss Center, and Academy Center for Children with the Head Start classrooms will serve 164 3- and 4-year-old children in the amount of $550,000, $666.50, and the early Head Start classrooms will serve 114 infant and toddler children in the amount of $719,484 for a total amount of $1,270,150.50.
Councilwoman Coonrod, you have the floor. Have a motion to approve. I hear several seconds. Questions, comments before we vote? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Item carries. Item D, Madam Clerk.
A resolution to provide services to 126 children through collaborations between Expansion Early Head Start Grant and Child Care Network, Redlands, Hope City Academy, Chambliss Center for Children, Maurice Kirby, Signal Centers, and Newton Center, in the amount of $1,175,820.
Councilman Coonrod, you still have the floor. A motion to approve. I do hear several seconds. Questions, comments before we vote? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Item carries. Without objection from council, under finance, Madam Clerk, will you please read items E through H, and we'll take those as a package.
Yes. Item E, a resolution to amend resolution number 18381, establishing a policy for a supplemental to allowance for eligible employees in the Department of Public Works at the Moccasin Bend Environmental Campus and the two fleet garages located at Amnicola Highway and 12th Street. Item F, a resolution to amend resolution number 28365, entitled "A Resolution Authorizing Administrators and Directors of the City of Chattanooga to accept donations under $25,000 to accept donations under $50,000 only if they do not place operational obligations on the city, and those donations accepted will be reported to the City Council not less than on a quarterly basis." Item G, a resolution to amend resolution number 31198, authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a sub-recipient agreement with Chattanooga 2.0 for the Quality Matters Fund with United Way of Greater Chattanooga designated as fiscal agent for an amount not to exceed $500,000. Item H, a resolution authorizing the mayor or his designee to enter into a sub-recipient agreement with Chattanooga Neighborhood Enterprise for Lowry Street affordable housing for an amount not to exceed $1 million.
Dr. Burrs.
Move approval.
Have a motion to approve. I do hear a second to that motion from Madam Vice Chair. Questions, comments before we vote? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Items carry E through H. Madam Clerk, under planning, item I, please.
A resolution approving a special exceptions permit for a new proposed liquor store located at 3933 St. Elmo Avenue.
Madam Vice Chair.
Move to defer.
To defer 1 week to have a second to that motion. Questions, comments before we vote? All those in favor say aye to the deferral of 1 week. Thank you. Opposed? All right. Thank you. Item is deferred 1 week. Thank you, Madam. Item J, please, Madam Clerk.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to accept the Tennessee Highway Safety Office, THSO, grant on behalf of the Chattanooga Police Department for enforcement of Tennessee driving under the influence laws to be used for overtime, supplies, and training, travel for a grant period beginning October 1, 2022 through September 30, 2023, in the amount of $200,000.
Councilman Henderson.
Move for approval.
Have a motion to approve. I have several seconds to the motion. Questions, comments before we vote? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Item carries. Item K, please, under Public Works, and item L, we'll take as a package without objection from council. Madam Clerk, please.
Item K, a resolution authorizing the administrator for the Department of Public Works to award contract number W22003201 Aquarium and William Street cleaning contract for cleaning wastewater pipes to Ace Pipe Cleaning, Inc., Kansas City, Missouri, in the amount of $78,280 with a contingency in the amount of $8,000 for a total amount of $86,280. Item L, a resolution to amend resolution number 31132 to increase the estimated amount of $250,000 for the roof inspections, repairs, and maintenance on-call blanket contract number E19011-202 with Porter Roofing Contractors, Inc., Morrison, Tennessee, and Tri-State Roofing Contractors, LLC of Chattanooga, Tennessee, due to additional contract utilization at the Development Resource Center, Well Advantage Center, South Chattanooga Community Center, Washington Hills Community Center, and Bessie Smith Cultural Center for use by all departments for a revised estimated amount of $500,000.
We have two items, K and L. We have a motion to approve. I do have several seconds to that motion. Questions, comments before we vote? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Items K and L carry. Under purchases this evening, Ms. Satterfield, are you presenting our purchases? I believe we have 6 purchases this evening, which council did receive late last week and have had an opportunity to review and ask questions of the administration, including our 3:30 session this afternoon.
Yes. So we have 6 purchases recommended for approval, as you said. First, from the wastewater division of Public Works, we have the purchase of a temporary conveyor system. 1 bid was received. The solicitation was re-advertised and yielded no additional bids. The award goes to Bar Environmental, and the amount is $139,964. Next, from the wastewater division of Public Works, we have a new blanket contract for pump station asset management and optimization services. 1 bid was received. The solicitation was re-advertised and yielded no additional bids. The award goes to Specific Energy. This will be a 4-year contract with an annual amounts not to exceed $59,127 for year 1 and $35,000 for years 2 through 4. From the Department of Technology Services, we have 2 new blanket contracts for structured cabling services. 2 bids were received, and the awards go to Integrated Networking Technologies LLC and Institutional Network Communications. These will be 4-year contracts with a combined annual amount not to exceed $1 million. Also, from the Department of Technology Services, we had a request to increase contract for GIS application support and maintenance in order to cover product enhancements. The increase is $50,000 for a new annual amount not to exceed $93,732. From the purchasing department, a second and final renewal of contract for paper goods. American Paper and Twine Company submitted a 32% price increase at the time of renewal for an increase of $16,000 and a new annual amount not to exceed $66,000. And last, from the Facilities Division of Public Works, a request to increase contract for electrical supplies citywide. The original amount was based on prior year expenditures, and usage of the contract has increased citywide. The increase is $175,000 for a new annual amount not to exceed $675,000. We have no RFPs and no emergency purchases.
Thank you, Ms. Satterfield. We have a motion to approve purchases for this evening. I do have a second to that motion. Questions, comments before we vote? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Purchases are approved. We'll now move into committee reports. Welcome back, Councilwoman Coonrod. Start with you. No report. Councilwoman Knoll. Dr. Burrs. Thank you, Councilman Henderson. Councilwoman Hill. Hit your light for me. Thank you, ma'am.
We'll have a planning and zoning committee meeting next Tuesday, the 4th of October.
And we have an adjusted date, times for our October 4th meeting due to National Night Out. Just
Right,
want
we
to
have
make sure
adjusted
to note.
time, but it will be on the 4th, yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Just want to make note of that before we move into that meeting. Councilman Smith?
No report, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Hester?
No report.
Very good. Madam Vice Chair? No report. All right. We have other business in tonight listed. We have 3 certificates of compliance. Mr. Noblet, you have those certificates with you for signatures?
Yes, sir. Have actually 2 tonight based upon the action of this body and deferring the Scenic City Wine one for 1 week. The Weigels, DBA Weigels number 100 at 2230 Polymer Drive. It's a wine and grocery store certificate of compliance, and also Weigels at store number 101 at 5878 Highway 153 in Hickson. Both of those locations meet the requirements of the city code, and the investigation has determined that they are appropriate to obtain a certificate of compliance.
Very good.
And I'll pass that
You'll
around.
pass these around. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
While we are doing that, we will now move into, bless you. We will now move into recognition of persons wishing to address the council. I see we have quite a few in attendance, and we expect quite a few persons to speak with us tonight as we also monitor social media and we understand what is going on, and we know the intent of the spirit of conversations that go around in our community. And before we come tonight to speak to the council, we do have rules for public speaking. And the most important thing I can tell you is that there are some things that are not within our jurisdiction or authority, and Mr. Attorney will read those rules now.
Sure. At the end of every council meeting, the chair will recognize members of the public who wish to address the council, and these are your rules if you wish to speak. Each speaker wishing to address the council can only be recognized at the microphone up front that is provided for that purpose. No person can have more than 3 minutes to speak, and the speaker can address the council only upon matters within their legislative and quasi-judicial authority, and not on matters that are not under their authority or regulated by other governmental bodies or agencies. You can't use any vulgar or obscene language, nor use the floor to personally attack or personally denigrate others. You should address your comments to the council as a whole and not make comments directed towards individual council members. You can only do so one time a day, and the chair in this matter is the person that's in control, and he will not permit disorderly conduct or disrupting a public meeting, which is prohibited under Tennessee law. A person commits an offense if that person substantially obstructs or interferes with the meeting by physical action or verbal utterance with the intent to prevent or disrupt this meeting from continuing. At this point, whoever wishes to speak, come up front.
And Mr. IT, there'll be a 3-minute timer on this screen. Can you see it okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
And it's ready when you are. Thank you. If you'll give us, everybody who comes to speak, because we have a lot of folks, we have a lot of new faces today. And I want to make sure that we understand who's here and sharing their opinions and their thoughts with us. So if you'll give your name and where you live, and if it's in the city, your city district, if it's in the county, if you'll tell us that, that would be most helpful, because we are recording this for YouTube to play back later.
I can do that. Good evening.
Good evening.
We are Mark and Jean Davis, residents of District 3 in Hamilton County, and are here concerning a stormwater issue that is eroding our property at 5812 Lake Resort Drive in Hickson. We bought this home 6 years ago, and within a couple years, water began building up in a large pit across the street, and during periods of heavy rain, this water eventually spilled over the road and into the ditch in front of our house. This would slow down traffic as cars splashed through the overflow. We began to fear that a car might slide off the road and into a 20-foot deep pond that had developed. Originally, the water was going through stormwater pipes, passing under the road and then under our property and emerging 65 feet down the hill behind us, which is an empty residential lot facing Ganstor Road. Within the following year after that, the stormwater was no longer exiting the intended pipe, but was flowing out of the ground behind our driveway. It began creating a sinkhole next to our driveway and a large gully on the property behind us. We reported this to the city, and representatives from the stormwater department spoke with us over the phone several times and also made several trips to our property over the next couple years. We were eventually told that it was our problem to fix. The best advice to us was to start digging. Since then, we have had 5 or 6 contractors and engineers look at the problem, and none of these firms were willing to give us estimates or agree to do the work unless there was a cooperation from the city. The solution necessarily involves more than just our property, and our deed states that stormwater work has to be approved by the city engineer. We have no idea how deep or expansive this sinkhole is under our property. Our fear is that our driveway could collapse at any time. This problem involves 4 different properties. We happen to be the property in the middle that is receiving all the damage. We do not see it as our place to analyze pipes which start on private property across the street from us and then go under a public road, pass under our property, and emerge on the private property behind us. We therefore request that the city conduct an investigation and advise us of an appropriate situation, a solution that is acceptable to the city engineer. My husband, Mark is a retired pastor, and I am retiring in the next few months from Blue Cross. Our plan is to downsize to a smaller home at retirement. We have been working intensely over this last year and a half because we cannot sell our home until this problem is resolved. Thank you.
Can you hang on one second, Councilman Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Miss Davis, thank you for coming tonight. And to your point, there have been many phone calls and visits to the property. Mr. Hutka, have you visited this property personally? Great. I'm glad you're familiar with it because I'm not happy with the resolution that these people are facing. I do understand that there's only so much that the city can do on private property. But to your point, if you are having engineers come out as instructed to take a look at the problem and to look at what it might take to resolve, yet they will not either take steps or give an estimate without some kind of cooperation with the city, then I expect the city to be cooperating with our constituents and to help resolve this matter. So, Ms. Satterfield, since you are here in place of Joda, I am requesting that you make sure that this couple gets a response and one that they can work with either engineers or contractors they have contacted and work with the city engineer, whoever that may need to be. You've had the best on your property. Maria Price is as good as it gets when it comes to stormwater.
Yes, she was very helpful.
So that in and of itself should lend quite a bit of knowledge to the problem that you're having, but we need to make sure that we're connecting the right people so that we can get to a resolution. So Ms. Satterfield, I'd really appreciate it if you'd make sure that that is taken care of for them. Thank you. Thank you both very much.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. I know we've had several people join us. So if you're not familiar with the public speaking rules, I saw probably about 10 people who came in after we read those. They are posted at the podium. If you could take a quick look at that. If anybody needs us to read them again, we do have some pretty set rules. Please raise your hand and we will be glad to do that for you. Okay. Mr. Attorney, will you please run through that list again for me, please?
Be glad to.
Thank you.
For those of y'all that did not hear before, we've got a set of rules that the council adopted last year regarding anyone speaking to the council. And at the end of each council meeting, the chair will recognize members of the public that wish to address the council, and these are your rules. You can only be recognized up front at the microphone that is provided for that purpose on that microphone. No person can have more than 3 minutes to speak when they come up. The speaker can only address the council upon matters that they have authority over in their legislative and quasi-judicial authority. And you can't address the council on matters which are not under their authority or regulated by other governmental bodies or agencies. The speaker is not permitted to use any vulgar or obscene language, nor use the floor to personally attack or personally denigrate others. And you can address the council as a whole and not make comments directed towards individual council members. You can do so only one time a day, and you can't have disorderly conduct or disrupting a public meeting, which is prohibited by Tennessee law. And the statute reads, a person commits an offense if the person substantially obstructs or interferes with the meeting by physical action or verbal utterance with the intent to prevent or disrupt a lawful meeting or gathering. Having said that, please go forward, Mr. Wysong.
My name is Charles Wysong. I live at 6872 Robin Drive here in Chattanooga. I'm here to address what I hope all of you have seen, and that is this display of the drag queen at the Wanderlinger bar, where a little girl, maybe 3 or 4 years old, goes up and is induced to rub the genitals of one of these drag queens. And this video has now made the internet, and this little girl and will live with this image or these images of her the rest of her life. And clearly a crime has been committed, sexual battery. But my concern is you have Children Protective Services, and I just want to inquire the council. I think the council ought to involve themselves in this. And we have the chief of police here tonight, and wonder if there's any way you folks could ask what is being done to investigate this and could come back to the council and report on what is being done. The parents of a little girl that they induced her to go up there and portray herself as part of the crowd. We're looking at serious matters, corrupting these children, corrupting their morals. And tonight, there are a good many people here. Those that are concerned about this, would you stand up? Those that. And I just wonder if there might be kind of a response from the council to this. What would you do?
Mr. Wysong,
Yes, sir.
you know me for a long time. We're great friends. I will not let this council be strong-armed into
Well, I'm not
doing,
trying-
no, I will not let this council be strong-armed.
You saying
Under any circumstances, we are looking, everyone is looking at this. The chief of police has been notified, and we are not going to be strong-armed. Okay?
Okay.
I see you. And there's been a lot of people who come here and stand, and they all are passionate about whatever it is they're passionate about.
Sure.
And I just want you to know that we're not going to be strong-armed in a public meeting.
Well, I'm sorry you misinterpreted my presentation as being
okay.
strong arm. I'm not strong arming anybody, but I do want you to understand there's a
I
deep
hear you.
there's a deep matter here
Yes, sir.
that numbers of people.
Yes,
And
sir.
listen, this is just a smattering. But anyway, if what I'm asking for, is there an investigation going on? And that's what I'm asking.
I would like for you to turn around and ask the chief of police who's right behind you.
Yes, yes.
And because that is our enforcement side of the city and not the legislative side of the city.
Okay.
Thank you.
You want me to ask her now?
You can ask her
Uh,
whenever you like. Yeah.
Chief
But,
Murphy?
no,
Oh,
your 3 minutes is, sir, your
Yes.
3 minutes is up. Next. We have
well, you
3
took my
minutes.
minutes. I don't want to be strong armed. But anyway, indeed, this is a very serious matter for this city. And I appreciate,
Mr. Wysong, we're going down, I'm trying to help out. We're
Okay.
going down a bad road. You still need the mic?
Well, Mr. Attorney,
Yes, sir.
and I don't know if you're privy, it's my understanding that there is a current investigation into this, and it's always been my understanding once it's under investigation, that really we need to not make any comment concerning an ongoing investigation.
Normally, if an ongoing investigation is going, it is up to the criminal courts to be involved at that point in time. The district attorney has to make decisions. Is there not an issue
Yeah,
that will
but
go?
it's my understanding that our police department is investigating this.
Yes, sir. I believe that's the reason the chief went out and is speaking with Mr. Weiss.
And I think as a council, we sort of have a right not to comment on any ongoing investigation.
Well, hopefully you would not take out of the justice system those items that are supposed to be resolved by the justice system. That is not a political issue. That is an issue that has rights involved associated with the rights of the people accused and the rights of the people that may have been harmed. Yes, sir.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Melanie Stover. I live in District 7. I'm up here about the same thing, but I have a different twist on it. There were a couple of establishments that sell alcohol that had these children in there watching obscenity, adult entertainment. I assume that there's permits that these people have to sell alcohol. They have violated codes by having children in there at the time this is going on, and they should have a penalty. I'm not talking about a small fine. I'm talking about their license pulled. If they're going to allow this type of entertainment in their place with children present. You're all elected officials. You're here to serve us. You're here to listen to us. This needs to end. on adult entertainment in their facility and out. That's all I've got to say.
Good evening, Council. My name is Matt Adams, and I am a proud resident, proudly represented by Councilwoman Knoll in District 8. About 10 years ago, I was down here in Chattanooga for a leadership conference when I was in high school, and I came out to the first person as queer. And that was a really big step for me because I grew up in a very rural area, and this city has always felt safe to me. It's always felt welcoming. It's always felt like a family to me. You see, I've always thought of things in a historical context. In 1969, the Stonewall riots occurred in New York City and launched what is considered to be by most the modern gay rights movement. Why a lot of people wonder, did those riots happen in the first place? Well, it was simple, really. People were tired, right? They were tired of being threatened. They were tired of being harassed, and not just by their neighbors and not just by their family, but by elected officials, by members of the New York City Council, members of the county commission, the state legislature were harassing these people, and they were just tired, right? And so I come before you tonight as a resident of the city of Chattanooga to say thank you for allowing weeks like this to happen, allowing Pride Week to happen, because you see, the reason that weeks like this have to happen is because for far too long, folks like myself have had to hide away from the public view. Don't exist. And I'll leave you with this. I promise this is not usual for me to keep it this brief, but I'll leave you with this. Harvey Milk, who was considered to be, by most historians, to be the first openly queer elected official in the United States, while he was on the city board of supervisors in San Francisco, he made a series of recordings. And in one of them, he says a quote that has stuck with me since I first heard it. He said, "If a bullet shall enter my brain, may it shatter every closet in America." Thank you.
Evening.
Good evening, Marie Mott, District 8. The district race proved to be historic for both better and worse. While I was excited that a slate of women ran and I won fair and square the general election plurality vote with no dirty tactics, what transpired next has been nothing short of shocking measures taken by seemingly desperate leadership. Never in our city's history has a mayor used city time and property to endorse a council candidate, with more than half of the city council present and following suit. A councilman spoke at the Pachyderm Club and felt the need to weigh in publicly on District 8's race, even though he doesn't even reside in our community. Furthermore, never have I seen mayoral staff so heavily involved in a sitting city council interim campaign. Whether you like me or not, attorneys like Mr. Summers agree. State laws apparent through the Hatch Act that official influence is prohibited and restricts the executive branch, legislative branch, and employees' actions to ensure fair elections processes are conducted. Candidates should be able to run unobstructed, and constituents must be able to vote without impediments. I'm sad to express the tainting of the process has extended towards the citizenry. It's alleged by official complaints, citizens were turned away at the polls and advised, even though they voted during the general election, they could not vote in the runoff. The desire to win at all costs cost us something much more than nearly $70,000 to have the runoff. Many have expressed their lack of trust in the process and feel disenfranchised. In the words of Eric Atkins, we have set a dangerous precedent of robbing the people of the right to choose the candidate they prefer without any official influence. The unintended consequences of your choices will forever impact whether or not the people will have a fair election in the future. Sadly, I want to express with firm agreement, I have no choice but to fight the power structure And that is exactly what I intend to do. I pray the outcome leans towards justice and that we all continue to take a more active role in making our voices heard more consistently and remain civically engaged despite what we see. And I will end with the words of Minister Theodore Parker, who was an abolitionist and preacher right before the Civil War. And he spoke at a convention to abolish slavery and the chaining of my ancestors. And the quote was so powerful, MLK took it and ran with it. And he said that the moral arc of the universe is long, but it always bends towards justice.
Good evening, Antonio Sands. I got 3 minutes, so I'm be talking fast. So September 16th, there was an incident down at the Paul Clark building that involved me and another city employee, and which led to my dismissal. I am opposing that dismissal. Also, I wanted to know if the city policy states that there's no horseplaying or violence, why I'm the only one that's being punished for the actions that happened that day. And I would like to also ask if if Rick Colston and Christine Lee cannot push to have charges pressed against me to have me arrested, who had the charges, who pushed the charges to have me arrested? Because the other co-worker did not press charges, but when I went to go see the magistrate, she said Ricky Colston and the city of Chattanooga are pressing charges. And when I talked to Mr. Colston, he said, no, we don't have the power to do that. I'm just wondering about that. I have my day in court for that, so I will have my time in court for that. But I really want to know from the council, if y'all say you want everybody to be fair, why is it that if a man horseplay with another man and the man that don't horseplay turn around and reacted to him in a certain way, why is the man that was technically the victim getting punished for his actions? I'm used to public speaking, so
You're fine.
don't-
You're fine.
so
You're-
yeah. And I'm trying to beat the clock too. So
Yes, sir.
so basically what I'm saying is the incident was I was there at the Paul Clark building signing a form, and I was had my back to the other coworker, and I was bent over signing a form. He came up behind me and touched me inappropriately. I turned around and I did push him. And nobody could explain to me why just me I've been fired, I've been arrested, and now I'm here trying to figure out how can I get my job back. That man, he's sitting at home getting a check. That's all I need to know. Thank you.
My name is Reed Uberman, and I actually have no idea what district I'm a part of, but I know I live in the East Brainerd area, so
That would be 4, sir.
District 4. So I actually had a diatribe prepared, but I'm going to forego that in honor of everyone here. Hopefully you can appreciate that. Instead, I think I have a simple question at the end of the day that I hope that we can somehow muster an answer to. And it is in reference to what took place over the weekend and these drag shows that took place with minors. I want to be very clear to say this, that if we were not talking about small children being involved, I think half of the people that are here would not be here. I think we need to be very clear when we talk about freedom, that we understand that diversity and inclusion is not an excuse to expose small children to sexually explicit material. We started this meeting out talking about compassion, and we used Henry Nouwen. I think that's pretty interesting because Henry Nouwen was actually a Christian theologian and came out as a gay man later in life and decided not to act upon those predilections and rather to remain celibate later in life, and was probably one of the foremost theologians of his time and perhaps even today in the area of compassion. And so my question would be in light of that to say this. When we talk about compassion, about the compassion for small children who do not have the ability to understand what is being placed directly in front of them? What about the compassion for sexually explicit material that they are being subjected to in our city under the guise of a family-friendly event? Now, I think most of you have seen the video, but if you haven't, you will know that what the man said, Mr. Wysong, that was up here, is absolutely correct about a child fondling the privates of an adult that is a complete stranger to that child, not that it would be any better if it wasn't. And then we also have grown men flashing their crotches to small children. This is not the kind of behavior of an adult, and this is not the kind of behavior that you should ever subject a child to. If I were to do this to any one of you, I would be accused of sexual harassment, especially Me-Too era. Now, how much more when it's a small child and they do not know any better? Person in this body who has the power to consider these events, to speak openly and publicly, rather than to defer to strong arming or to legalese, to actually explicitly come out and say what they actually believe and where they stand about exposing small children to sexually explicit material. That's what I would like to hear.
Ma'am, are you come speak? Okay. Would you care, Chris, would you move the stanchion, please? I'm going to see if Chris will bring that down or, and see if we can you slide, Chris, can that slide over the other way?
I can move it forward too.
Move
it to me here. Yeah.
Hey, Chris.
Can you hear me?
Hey, Chris, you want to grab that handheld? Let's do that. Thank you, Mr. Councilman Henderson.
Oh. Okay, can you hear me?
Try that one more time,
Can
please.
you hear me?
I can hear you. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My name is Regina, and I'm the president of the council at the Housing Authority. And I currently am the president at College Hill Court. We were here to speak about we have a grocery store across there from where we live called Moe's Grocery Store. And we wanted to get it fixed where food stamps can be used at this convenience store. We have a lot of elderly people and people who cannot get to the stores downtown. So it's a better convenience for them. And I know it is for myself. Anyway, I just wanted to see if we could get something started so we have a petition already. I don't know if we turn it in or what exactly we do with it. But that's basically, I just wanted to see if we can get the store more convenient for the disabled, because they have closed down Family Dollar.
Yeah.
So we can't get to that anymore. And Dollar General just doesn't have everything you need in it. So I think that's what I was here to speak on.
Well, thank you. I do see somebody from the administration kind of nodding their heads as to,
Yeah, this
I
is
think
my
they would
vice
like to talk
president.
to you outside in the lobby if
This
you
is
don't
my
mind.
Vice President Sharon Drag.
Yeah.
I'm Sharon Drag, and I'm the vice president. And speaking on behalf of the whole community, we would like to see if you all could help us get that food stamp program machine going. And then we also, the other complaint will be next week because it's on District 7. So we'll be talking about that, but if you all, you councilmen, can come out there and check this, all the neighbors, I got 200 and something people that's on food stamp.
Yes, ma'am.
They-
Mr. Freeman, are you coming? Yeah. If you'll turn around and Mr. Freeman right here, he'll meet you out in the lobby and we'll get some more information. Thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Rachel Campbell. I am a proud resident of Murray Hills, which is in District 3. And I am addressing the council and my community tonight I'm a little nervous, my first time addressing council, so I hope you'll bear with me. The absolute easiest thing in the world that we can be is kind, to just be kind to one another. It's easy, it's hopeful, it's even free. It can change someone's day, and sometimes it can save someone's life. But unfortunately, just as Pride Week, a celebration of love and light, begins, we see that ugly, hate-filled people are actively working against kindness, working to sow hate, sow bigotry, sow fear into our city and our county, and against members of the queer community here. In doing so, they put the lives of that community in danger. And the worst part is they are doing it with that as the objective. They want that as they believe it will get them what they would desire, an end to this. Excuse me. They want every one of us to run away, to cancel ourselves, to capitulate to their demands. But we will not give in. We will never give in. The lies, the rhetoric, the unfounded accusations against queer people endanger the lives of much loved citizens of our city, our neighborhoods, our families, even for some of us, our homes. I am proud to be the mother of a gay child, to call members of the queer community my friends, my neighbors, my loved ones. So we will stand firm against. We will continue to support our queer friends, our loved ones, but I am increasingly alarmed by the rise of hate groups in Chattanooga. I won't name them as they shouldn't be legitimized, but I am concerned that our own Hamilton County mayor would sidle up to those groups. Shame on him. Shame on everyone who would threaten this beloved community. We must do better than this. I call on Chattanoogaans to embrace love and light and to support our queer community, all members of them, and for private businesses to stand strong in their support as well. This is Chattanooga, y'all. We're the best city in the South. We're supposed to be anyway. Hate has no place here. I urge this council and this city to embrace kindness, inclusion, and compassion as well, and to remember that we all have the rights to make the decisions for our children as well in the way that we see fit as well. Y'all's way isn't always the right way.
Good evening.
Hello. Good evening. I just wanted to come and speak on
Can you
behalf
tell
of.
us your name and where you live, please?
My name is Tanya Short, and I live in Hickson. I don't know what district that
Okay,
is.
thank
but
you.
I work for the City of Chattanooga Public Works, and I wanted to speak on behalf of Antonio Sands, the man who was just here. I was the closest one to that situation. I'm sitting right there. This is a good man who works hard for the city. And if that man he had pushed hadn't been white, I wouldn't be standing here now. The man touched him. You can't come up and touch a straight man like that. And I'm not trying to be funny, but I work in a very hostile situation. It's us against supervision. Supervision is not for us. That man was standing there signing a paper, got touched, turned around with a reaction. He didn't have time to think. He didn't even know who he pushed. Because to be honest, just a couple of weeks before, or probably a few months before, I had a wreck in the city truck. I was hit. Steve, the man who he pushed down, gave me some muscle rub. I said, man, Stans, I ain't never talked to Steve before, but he's really nice. He gave me some muscle rub for my neck hurting. He said, yeah, Steve's a real nice guy. It wasn't him trying to be hateful to this man type thing. I go to supervision and ask them if I can fill out a form to explain the situation because I was right there. Rick Cooper told me no. If I'm the closest one to the situation, why you don't want to know what I got to say? Because I'm not just spitting tobacco type female. So that's all I got to say. But since he reacted, when I was a child, I came up behind my dad and poked him. He was a jumpy person too. I got my nose broke. Do you think my dad would have really hurt me? No, but when you walk up behind a man and touch him, you're going to get a reaction, especially in the hostile situation we got down there at the city. So y'all have a good one.
Hang on one second. Ma'am, I just wanted to say the department head for Public Works has heard the comments tonight, and I appreciate you sharing those with us, but Mr. Hucka is here and he has heard those comments.
Hi. Hi, I'm Evelina Cote, I believe District 8. I'm a recent graduate alumni from UTC, now with a Bachelor's of Science degree in Political Science Public Policy. I want to make a comment on some of the situations around LGBT politics. I'm not going to make a comment on current investigations because I don't think that's a matter directly relevant to the council. I am going to have them make a comment on the general actions of anti-queer activists and how they might affect the local pride events. The truth is that these calls like for regulation or not allowing children around is completely unfounded. There's no data really on that providing particular harm to students. For instance, there's been articles saying in the Psychology Today from Joe Korea, PhD, showing that there really is that there's no issues. Drag is not particularly sexual. I also am concerned about safety at the various pride events. Various groups have been calling for people to go investigate these events. There's been multiple threats to queer businesses. I can quote multiple articles like in the Tennessean from McKinley Hood about how these sort of movements calling LGBT groups groomers have been connected to like far-right violence. And there's been incidents of other drag events in other cities having groups like the Proud Boys with baseball bats show up to them. So I'm concerned that particularly any sort of propagation of these narratives, particularly by elected officials, such as the county mayor, adds to a dangerous situation when there's really no data showing that there was any data. LGBT people have never been shown to be more abusive to children. I can quote multiple data, such as see Jenny et al. Sorry, that was one. I don't have the name right here, but there's multiple studies in this. And it's been shown that LGBT people actually 4 times more likely to be victims of sexual violence. So while I will not comment, I did not particularly think the things I saw in the video were particularly inappropriate, but I will not comment on that because that doesn't affect it. But I will comment that I absolutely call against, but from my professional opinion as someone with a political science degree, that any particular extra regulation of the LGBT community or closing events would be completely unwarranted based on public interest. Thank you.
Evening, Mr. Bell.
It is good evening, Council. Monty Bell, the homeless journalist, the gray-haired fox. The last time I was here, I became quite the celebrity. June the 21st of this year, kidnapped, robbed, and abducted outside of the city council. It's been a while since I've been here, so I wasn't sure quite how to address the council. I knew I wanted to talk about the race in the 8th district, which excluded the 8th district residents. We made it public that we didn't want either of the two candidates. I made it publicly known that we had two candidates being dangled before us that was operated by one puppet master. I think the 7,285 people who did not cast their votes proved that the 8th district residents were not only included in this race, we were excluded. We were beaten, raped, and robbed. We were ignored, and we were embarrassed and shamed. I don't know if this photograph of Monty Bell, the homeless journalist, the gray-haired fox, which says black on black crime enforced by whites, where there are two CPD officers rubbing Monty Bell up and down like I was a toy on Jefferson Street, which I filed a complaint with the city police department. And since our new chief was here, the old chief said that my rights to due process of law were violated. I was raped in public view on Jefferson Street in 2011. Now, to add to this real quick, after the arrest, I had the pleasure of sitting in the Hamilton County Jail, where there were several people there interested in the fact that Monty Bell was arrested. Some 3,000 persons saw this thing here. And on next week, we're going to talk about the 7,000 people who did not vote. It's either that the gerrymandering that's been going on since Mayor Kinsey is in effect, or 7,285 people listened to Monty Bell said that we had two puppets dangled before us, operated by one puppet master. I got $105,670,000,000 that's due to me in the 8th District. And we're going to discuss this next week if I'm not arrested as I go to my bike. Councilwoman Kumrat, before you come back on, we've got,
well,
thank you.
We don't do that.
We
Thank
will
you, sir.
next week.
Thank
Thank you. And I thank you very much.
Hello, I am a new resident of Chattanooga. I am a refugee of California. And I'm saying that because I am very shocked, not really shocked to know that the same things that are going on in California are prominent here in Chattanooga as well, in putting children in front of things that I think they should not be exposed to, meaning the drag queen situation. My name is Harriet Reed.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, and I live in East Brainerd, and I guess I'm in the 4th District, based
Thank
on
you.
what the other gentleman said.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
No worries. And the reason that I'm speaking out against the drag queen situation is I do believe it's child abuse, and I'd like for anyone who agrees with that type of thing to know that it's not a situation of hate. No one hates anyone else. It's just that people have different opinions as to how they want their children raised. And everyone has a right to their opinions. And I don't hate anyone, but I do feel that it's child abuse when you are putting children in situations that they should not be involved in. I also believe that this is coupled in the school system with telling children that they can be any gender that they want to be. And if you want to decide that for yourself, that's perfectly fine, but you don't start that with children. You wait until they become adults, and then they can choose to do anything they want to do. And if I'm your neighbor, as long as you're a respectful neighbor, I will respect what you want to do in your house. And that's not hate. That's not anything negative against what someone wants to do, as long as it's between consenting adults. And these children do not have the ability to make this decision for themselves. When they're exposed to this, it is very harmful. And I think that the council should be involved. The council is from we the people. We're the ones who vote you in office. We're the ones who pay your salaries. And we should have our voices heard. It's not called strong arming. It is called doing the will of the people who elected you. So in closing, I would like to say I would hate for this to turn into California. I'm not running anymore. This is my last stand. So I will be here regularly. Thank you.
Greetings, Council.
Evening.
Corey Evett, District 5. You've seen me here before. I just wanted to stand up and speak up in solidarity with the community that's trying to just have a wonderful week this week and express joy and have a good time. It's unfortunate that some of this stuff is unfolded. I appreciate you, Chairman, for standing up for the council. And as you said, we see people here that we've never seen before and will likely never see again. So I appreciate you listening to everyone, and especially the folks that are here consistently and sharing what they have to say. As I've said, I grew up here, and when I say I grew up here, I grew up here. I was graduated from Central High School. I was a youth group kid. I was in a Christian rock band. I I had such a wonderful time, but I had these beliefs that were passed down to me that certain people that were different from me didn't belong, that they were going to hell, that they were evil. I was inundated with all of this stuff. And I came to believe, because I allowed myself to experience empathy and meet some of these wonderful people, that a lot of that was just incorrect. And so what I just wanted to say today, as I have absolutely nothing prepared, but I wanted to speak to some of these people that maybe followed someone else here, or that may be watching a live stream, that are following what someone else is saying, and they're thinking, that just does not seem right. It doesn't seem right that someone that's not causing anyone any harm is evil or wrong. So if anyone out there is just questioning what they've been told over and over and over again, and questioning why something is wrong when obviously it's doing no harm to anyone, just please, I'm literally the only Corey Evitt. Feel free to reach out to me, former youth group kid. I would love to talk to you. And to this council, I would just like to say that it is obvious that we're seeing ignorance and fear and hate get louder and braver. I just hope that love can be even louder and even braver. So thank you.
Good evening, council. My name is Cheryl Twitty.
Good evening.
I did not grow up in Chattanooga, but I did spend the summers here with great friends on Signal Mountain.
Ma'am,
I
do you
used
live
to-
in the city or county? I've been a little laxed in that, so I'm trying to
I'm
do
sorry.
better in my job here.
City. Yeah.
City. And what district?
I don't know. Sorry, I'm kind of planted two places. I've come from Jonesboro, Tennessee, and we're making all our transfer over here in the last 7 years, but we're still got 1 foot in each county, Hamilton County, Washington County. So I have businesses here. I've been building new construction, had a great success with that, providing beautiful homes for people, and have some rental properties, that kind of thing. But when I was young, I would ride the Chattanooga choo-choo from Atlanta up here to spend the summers, and had a growing love for Chattanooga. I love Chattanooga because I have some roots here, but because of the people here and the history here and the love of that history. I'm 69 years old. I had 5 children. My education background was a bachelor's in special ed out of Valdosta, Georgia. I've taught for a long time, 30 years. I taught my own children, I tutored, I mentor now. But my specialty was with child development. And I'm very concerned about what's going on with our children and the exposure there with this drag stuff. I can say from personal experience, it's not a healthy situation for a young child to be exposed to male nudity or any kind of physical touch in a way that is a sexual touch. And I would say private parts is a sexual touch. We've had foster kids in our home. I've worked with children who have a background and a history of exposure to sexual behavior from adults. It's not produced something good and healthy. It's produced a lot of difficulty for those individuals. So I would say whoever thinks that there is no consequence to what these children are experiencing would need to dig deeper. I would just implore you, because you are influential in this community and people look up to you and respect you and they trust you because they've elected you, I implore you, protect our children, keep the regulations as tight as possible to protect our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm Angela Favaloro. I am in City and County District 5. I come to speak tonight as a parent and community member. I would say our conversation starts around safety, right? I don't think this is an either or situation, right? It's not like anybody in this room supports pedophilia. No one in this room supports grooming. I think what we have is misguided direction on what safety is and how we address that. One of the oldest myths in the book is that sexual orientation or gender identity determines child molestation or things like that. And that is proven time and time and again by American Psychology Association, the Academy of Pediatrics, the child molestation things, that the data is not there to show that kids are actually in their family and community groups, those who are closest to them, that is where they are susceptible to the most harm. To take this conversation and apply it toward a vulnerable community is doing disservice to two communities. We have one community who we know is heavily oppressed, and this type of oppression from all the governing bodies and their community leads to crisis and fatal situations. Then we have a disservice to actual child harm, actual grooming, pedophilia, these issues. This is taking away from the ability to fund, the ability to legislate, and the ability to actually protect children. The environments in which drag is no different than the Rockettes. The Rockettes wear bloomers and kick their leg up and have for 100 years. We have gymnasts who wear glittery leotards and flip up around and everything. And the Olympics is for children, family, and everyone. This is a debate about perception and ideology, and which both of those are free for us to all have individually, and we don't legislate based off of those things. My ideology is that I'm the mother of a queer child, and those spaces are very affirming and positive and life-giving to my children. Those places may not be for other people, and they don't have to go there. And for someone to say that they're not going after any other situation where small children aren't present is inaccurate. Any place that a queer person or transgender person or non-conforming person is being attacked. And we have a right to protect all people in this community. In Chattanooga, come on, y'all. We love everybody here, and we have to do our best to make that known and apparent that everybody is welcome.
Hi, my name is Mara White. I'm in the Hickson area. I'm not sure what district that is. I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that, a lot of things can be taken out of context. Video clips can be edited. I think everyone should wait and, see whatever the whole video is. I personally feel like if a child's at an event, perhaps it's the parent's responsibility to make sure where they're taking them, what they're seeing. And this all seems to formulate hate and fear because I am deeply terrified about my personal safety and the safety of my friends and family for even just speaking here. I know I have fought long and hard to get to the point in life where I feel safe within myself and everyone here. And, we all elected all of you to represent all of us and to protect all of us. And I wish nobody any harm or ill will. I just want to be able to live my life. And I want my friends and family, whether it be by blood or however related, to feel safe. And having people come into shows and events and make videos and clips that don't show the full story, it's frightening. It seems like a continuation of the last several years about false news, etc., are not seeing the full story or making a judgment call before they understand the whole situation. Every public event, you're always going to have people trying to destroy the situation. And especially when it comes, during Pride Week, when we are supposed to feel represented and safe and these attacks happening at the same time just doesn't seem to be authentic. And it seems to be like a targeted attack, so to speak, on our rights and our abilities to love ourselves for who we are. I've been through so many things and been terrified my whole life. I really don't want to be terrified anymore. And even everybody here elected y'all. And I have love for everyone here. And I hope one day I can feel that and feel safe. Thank you.
You can hang on. Excuse me, just 1 minute. I see a light. Councilwoman Hill.
Mara. Did I get that name wrong? Ms. White? Earlier, a person here spoke with our chief of police about the situation and was concerned and got connected with Chief Murphy. I want you to know that I hear you when you say that you are terrified, and I want you to know that I'm not okay with that. In District 2, we have a lot of diversity of thought. And what I have found when I've knocked doors and talked to people all over our community is that we can all agree that everyone belongs. And that means everyone. We all belong, and everyone in our community deserves to feel safe in their home, and they deserve to feel safe as they move about our community. So I urge you, if you choose to stay, take a moment and meet our chief of police, Chief Murphy. Make eye contact and know that there are people who their job every day is to help keep you and your family and your friends safe. And you deserve nothing less than that. I hope that we are past, I would love to think that we are past a day where people are threatened for being different, where people who are misunderstood are mistreated, but unfortunately I know we're not. So I urge you, call 911 when you need to. Never think you're not worth that, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Real quick, I'm sorry, go ahead. The person with the cowbell, if you could not do that, that would be really good. Thank you. I'm sorry, please go ahead.
You're fine. My name is Veronica. I'm from District 5. And I just wanted to come up and say that drag is an art form. It is a performance. Like, it is not inherently sexual, and it does not have to be. And the family-friendly shows that we have follow those guidelines. We do not have any drag queens that are out here just like showing off everything. And also, drag doesn't even have to be inherently LGBT. We have plenty of cisgender and non-gay people who are queens and kings and so on and so forth. Youth spaces are needed for queer LGBT youth, more than normal LGBT spaces. I have been threatened to be stoned to death by street preachers. I have been threatened to be lined up against the wall and shot in the head by priests. We need a place where we can feel safe to be ourselves. The suicide rate, according to the Trevor Project, just from this year, 2022, of LGBTQ youth is 45% have considered in this past year alone. That number drops to 6% if we are met with acceptance. We are your family members, whether you know it or not. We are your friends, your siblings, your children. And we have just as much say as you all do about the kind of world that we want to live in. Opinions should be relegated to pineapple on pizza. Not my safety, not my rights, not my ability to love my partner, not my brother's ability to be who he is. Thank you.
Evening.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Noah Corbin. I'm not sure of my district, but I live on Walnut Street that's close to the walking bridge.
That'd be 7.
It'll be 7. Oh, that's not a good number. I don't like odd numbers. Anyways, well, hello, my name is Noah Corbin, and I am the current president of the Chattanooga Pride Board. To ban all age drag shows will directly undermine a parent's freedom to raise their children how they see fit. A majority of people that are calling on a ban are also against mandated vaccines, mandated masks, and many other issues that have similar parallels that speak to a person's ability to choose what they do. So ask yourself, what is the difference? The difference here is the community that it impacts. These call to actions are rooted in hate, and to entertain them would only be to give in to that hate. In response to the false allegations of a child rubbing a drag queen's genitals at Wonderlinger Brewing Company, the situation in question did not even involve a drag performer. It involved a biological female that does princess parties as part of her job. She was dressed as Ariel from The Little Mermaid, and she in no way encouraged this to happen. The video in question does not show the young lady shifting her weight to change the placement of the child's hand. That portion was naturally left out to fuel an agenda. Over the past couple of days, I have received graphic, detailed death threats. These threats include hanging me off of the walking bridge, which, like I said, I live right beside, and even go as far to threaten my dog's safety, cutting her throat. If the people that are sending me these death threats have children, can you imagine what these kids are subjected to at home? In my opinion, sending these threats should make those parents be questioned for their children's safety. So ask yourself, are these calls to action actually for children's safety, or just for 15 minutes of fame to your 4,147 followers on Instagram? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jonathan Logan from District 7. I will start off by saying I'm a very cynical person, and I did not come out until I was around 19 years old. And I had no idea I even liked men, was with women my entire life. And for years now, I've told my partner that I didn't really see a point in pride. I didn't see what we have to worry about. If the South is as bad as it gets, the worst I ever get is a dirty look, maybe a odd noise. But the last few weeks have shown me that that's not all there is to worry about. When many of my close and personal friends and my partner has received death threats, they're cutting the throat of our dog, and other people I know have also received these death threats, and it makes you wonder question the safety. And I moved from a town named Chatsworth, Georgia. It's a very small town, and I thought maybe when I moved into a city and stuff, I would have to worry less about that, as I always found Chattanooga to be a very safe place. But now I have to question every night for someone to come in our apartment or try to grab one of us on the street, and I'm constantly have to worry. And I just would love to see something done about it. And all these groups talk about about respect and safety for children. None of those children wondered at that event. None of them showed up randomly. None of them were told to come. They were brought by their parents and they had a nice time. Every year they have that, and every year they work extensively to make sure it's a family-friendly event, telling vendors what they can and can't sell, having the open, and what performers can and cannot do to make sure that there is no wrongdoing to any children, which is something I hold very sacred, as I have many young family members. And just to find how many people hate people like me just for the life I live, it's very depressing and very sad, and it worries me endlessly. And just thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. Hey, can you hang on 1 second? Can you hang on 1 second for me? I see a light from Councilwoman Hill.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes, ma'am.
Brooke, I am deeply, deeply concerned about these death threats. We cannot allow this to be normalized in our community. For the record, we don't tell people we're going to kill them. We don't do that in Chattanooga. Whoever is sending death threats, I don't know if you're in this room or not.
Well,
Please don't speak.
I'm going to call
don't
order.
Speak. We don't send death threats in Chattanooga. We don't send death threats to our people in Chattanooga, and we've got to nip this in the bud. I want you all to know it is not okay that you are finding yourselves living in this situation. I'm sure that my inbox is going to be filled with all manner of nasty, nasty things when I wake up tomorrow. I got elected and I have to take those arrows. You all are just alive. So please, Chief Murphy, help them become educated to know how to protect themselves in this situation. This is abhorrent. Thank you.
Good.
Yes, sir.
This is Trevor and Noah Kremser from, I think, District 6. We're up in Ottawa. Am I totally off? Might be totally off. It doesn't matter. So in any case, the point in which we're here, there's been a lot of stuff brought up about hate and families and parents, and there's some good points hit. So I'm all for the idea of there's no reason anybody should be attacking anybody verbally. Yep, sexually, physically, any of that, right? So what's happening to the queer community is not okay. However, the situations in which these parents are putting their kids in is not okay either. Just opening these opportunities, you don't just open the doors to strip clubs and shuffle kids in. You don't just open doors to late night 2 a.m. bars and shuffle kids in. These are not areas in which kids should be put in. If people are walking around in lingerie, if you have a woman walking around in lingerie, it's not okay. But if you put a man in lingerie, all of a sudden it's okay. So it's just one of those things where we need to have some sort of regulation. And if parents can't make those decisions on their own, like if I'm waylaying on my son here, I'm going to get stopped. I'm going to be arrested. I'm going to be in trouble because that's abuse. If these parents are taking their kids to something that is over-sexualized or in a situation where you have men wearing lingerie, I consider that abuse. I don't think that is a healthy situation in which you should put your kids in. So I don't know. I mean, let them have their community, let them do their thing. I'm not for harassing, antagonizing, attacking, being rude. Dude, you guys do your thing. It's okay. But I don't think people should be taking kids, and kids shouldn't be put in situations like that.
Thank you. Evening, sir.
Good evening, distinguished council members. My name is Dan Meehan. I'm a resident of District 7. I'm here to share my disgust over the alleged incident this past weekend. I echo everything Mr. Weissong said and my fellow resident in blue, and I empathize with my fellow residents. I have a granddaughter that's gay. I have 2 nieces that are gay. If you ever feel threatened by phone, by email, by mail, report it. We in law enforcement have ways to investigate that. But you heard a lot of emotion tonight. In fact, at least 3 different logical fallacies: appeal to emotion, ad hominem attacks, and arguably a straw man argument. You're dealing with facts. I also want to point out too that not to comment on an official investigation, that's a law enforcement technique, not a technique for elected officials. We use that in law enforcement to maintain the integrity of investigation. So one way to, well, Mayor Wamp, to his credit, he came out and made a statement. We elected him to represent us, just like you. I urge you to make a statement one way or another. And if you don't want to do that, I would close by urging you to have a vote right now before us, a motion to send a letter to District Attorney Cody Wamp. You don't need an investigation by law enforcement. Present it to a sitting grand jury and let them decide on the nature of the act. Thank you.
Evening. Yep.
Hello, I'm Brian Field, BRY. Brian Field I just moved from Bonnie Oaks to Hickson just to get a larger place. Lived in Chattanooga all my life, except for 1 year in my wife's hometown and 1 year having to move for work. but my wife and I decided this is where we are. This is where we love to be. I just want to kind of step back, guys, and just say, you know, the most emotional stories in history, think how our country came to be, and the best movies out there. It's a battle between good and evil. Like, think Star Wars. Everybody loves Star Wars, right? The best movies out there, they have a battle between good and evil. That's what this is. Offenses will come. That's what Jesus said. But woe to those who through whom they come. It'd be better for a millstone to be cast around their neck and then be thrown into the sea than to cause one of these little ones to go astray. And I apologize for being so emotional. I've never done this before, okay, guys? But we all know what's right here, and we're going to throw these facts and these lies and say, oh, this was out of context. This statistic was out of context. This video is out of context. We all know what happened was wrong. My wife and I love to walk downtown. This is not where you just show, oh, it's the other department's problem. This is an all hands on deck situation like 9/11. You don't say, oh, the Air Force does that. Coast Guard doesn't do that. You don't do that. Everybody within their framework, each one of you, within your framework, you have things you can do and things you cannot do. And you can also get advice from other city council people in different cities and in this city. Do the right thing, guys. And ladies, sorry. If we don't do the right thing, and you all know what we want. We don't want death threats. That's not what this is about. This is about, yes, I want a homosexual couple to be able to walk downtown just like we can walk downtown. That's fine. But what this slippery slope is leading towards is public nudity downtown, which is what happens in California. In which case, the good people will leave Chattanooga. And then Chattanooga will become like Sodom and Gomorrah. It's a very slow, gradual process. So each one of you think about doing the right thing. Now, I will also say, for those of you who feel unsafe, John 3:16 is your way out. Okay, we're going to tell you what the Bible says, because that is the creator. That is in God we trust. And I will also say, it's only 10 seconds left, I was insulted by what you said about being strong-armed. We're just trying to make it convenient for you to see how many people are on the same message.
Hey, my name is Rebecca Day. I live in Sale Creek, born and raised in Hickson. I was not going to speak tonight until Ms. Hill spoke, so I just want to clarify some things. There have been threats, and if you are threatened, you can contact Austin Garrett. There's a tip line on the Hamilton County Police Department. You can contact the city of Chattanooga. Most of the people in this room are new, but there are some regulars that go to all of the meetings. I'm one that recently has gotten involved in being civically engaged, and it's awesome. I encourage everyone to talk to each other, get each other's phone numbers, get each other's emails. We need to stay united. We need to stay in communication. One threat that did go around, Ms. Hill, is something that was posted online this week that has been sent to the Hamilton County Police. I won't name the name of the person that posted it, but it just says, and I haven't seen any threats from a conservative point of view. If anybody here is threatening anyone, please don't do that. But from the left, there have been threats. A group in Chattanooga, this is the post. A group in Chattanooga is planning on sending its members, possibly armed. Is anyone planning on going anywhere armed? To Chattanooga Pride events, citing that the LGBTQIA member of that communities are grooming the youth of America to be pedophiles and perverts. This is a left-leaning person that's posting this. Do not let them spread their lies and intimidate you. If you are a law-abiding gun owner of the LGBTQIA community, I encourage you to carry at these events. It's not the conservatives who are inciting violence in Chattanooga. You can ask the Hamilton County Sheriff's Department for a copy of this post. It is there. Sure wish these people would focus on their own faults, such as the long history of sexual abuse by the churches of the Southern Baptist Convention. Who's grooming who? Listen, I am a biological female. I was born a biological female. And I am so happy to see female representation on this council. I am. It's awesome. But I would challenge you to let me rub you up and down 4 times in this area. Let me do it. You will call the cops on me. I don't care if you're a woman. I don't care if you're a man. A 4-year-old child, a parent should not allow their 4-year-old child. This child was rubbing up and down on this genitalia like this. You've got to watch the video. You need to do investigations. You need to engage with the mayor. You need to engage with Cody Womp. Please do something, say something. Like Mayor Womp came out with a statement because he's upset because Iron Man was affected. I mean, he needs to say, okay, I'm done.
My name is Rick Walser. I live in District 4, and I am offended about the strong arm comment as well. I want to point that out. I guess what bothers me is it seems like there are laws that she pointed out about sexual contact, and I expect those laws to be enforced. We can't pick and choose which laws that we're going to enforce. I've seen the video, and the person allowed that to happen. So, if something happened, then you need to enforce the law. We're talking, I guess, the city attorney. I don't know who's going to the police department. We need to enforce these laws. That's all it comes down to. As far as if my neighbor moves in and they play loud music, I may say, okay, turn it down, or maybe there's something I don't like. But, I don't have to condone and accept. I mean, I will accept them for what their impact on my life, that maybe they moved in and I don't like them. But it doesn't mean I have to accept their lifestyle. It doesn't mean I have to love them. I don't have to condone them. I don't have to say, oh, what they're doing is great. That's my prerogative as a U.S. citizen. I can lead my own life. I think inclusion and diversity, it's great. But I don't have to embrace somebody's lifestyle just because, from what I see Gallup here, like around 6% of the country is gay. But we seem to act like 80% of the country is gay or something. And, I've known some gay people. They're very nice people, but it doesn't mean that I necessarily would condone their lifestyle. I don't think that's necessarily the right thing. So, but whatever rules there are, the alcohol, any of those, they need to be enforced. Thanks.
Councilwoman Coonrod, I see your light.
Thank you, Chair. I can appreciate everybody that showed up to council today, whether if you agree with one thing or another. I appreciate you coming forward and having your say. But I also agree with a couple of things that have been said today is that everybody have their own difference of opinion. So whether if you support the LGBTQ plus community or not, it's still all about fairness or treating people with respect. If no one knows what anybody identify as, if you still treating them with respect, and that's all that I ask as a council person. I'm here to serve everybody. It doesn't matter what you identify with, whatever pronouns you want to go by. It doesn't matter the color of your skin, because I'm going to treat you fairly and with respect. That's what I'm here to do as a council person. I'm not here to say I'm against this because somebody is gay, or I'm against it because you're not. Whatever it is, that's just not my role. I don't get down like that. But I can also identify with the what's Maureen or whatever her name is, when she said the fear of being with threats. And I can't relate with it because I'm gay or anything like that, but the color of my skin. And society has gotten to the point to where we ostracize people that are different, or if you're gay or not. But the same way that we treat gay people, you treat Black people the same way. We have the same concerns, the same fears. That's, all of that. So if we all just treat people with respect, no matter what, like I said, you identify with, your skin color, it'll be a much better society. But I can't end without saying to a really good friend of mine who I seen sweat and tears fight for the LGBT community and was a previous council member, and that's Chris Anderson. I want to say thank you for all that you have done in the LGBTQ community. I know sitting here tonight for you has been extremely hard to hear the comments, but I do know that you're not a biased person, and you know you don't just sway one way or another. You help everybody in the city of Chattanooga, so I appreciate you for that, and I know that you're going to continue to fight whatever you believe in. So it's whatever you believe in and whatever you support. If that's what your heart desire is, then you do it. If it's not, then that's fine too. But the end goal is that we're not gonna run anybody out of Chattanooga. We're not the people that's gonna judge us, whatever your belief is. If you believe in God, then you gotta answer to God. If you believe in Allah, whatever your higher power is, you gotta believe in whatever that judgment is for that person. It's not for me as a council person to put that judgment on you. And I don't expect for anybody, because I serve on council, to put that in my lap to say that I have to be the person to judge a person based on whatever it is that they choose to identify with. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to accept that responsibility. My job going to be to legislate and serve everybody in the city of Chattanooga, District 9, and what's best for the entire city. And like I said, it doesn't matter what you identify with. If anybody want to see me afterwards, I'm here. I'm accessible. You can call me. You can email me. I don't do the hate mail, so you won't expect for me to give you a response. I don't do the hate phone calls or none of that, because I'll be ready to fight too. So I just want to make sure that y'all understand my perspective and where I come from. Again, I appreciate every one of you. I heard you all's words. Thank you. I hope y'all continue to come. Last thing I'm gonna say, Chair, County Commission meet tomorrow morning at 9:00. I hope all of y'all show up at County Commission, because that's what Weston Wump is. He's over there for the county. He's the one that made any statements, if you agree with him or not. Mayor Kelly, he run the city of Chattanooga, and he's here. I've not heard our mayor say anything in regards to what everybody has come to speak about. I wish I could take off work just to see how many faces gonna be there at 9:00 in the morning at the county commission. But I would appreciate it if you all direct the same energy that you have here at council, take it over to the county commission. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Sir, are you last minute speaker?
I would like to be.
Okay, please go ahead. Then Dr. Burrs, I'll let you finish up. We usually kind of do our thing at the end. Please.
My name is Scott Graham. I live in Hurricane Creek. I'm a 100% disabled veteran. I've been a lot of things in this community. I've been a veteran. I've served this community full time on the National Guard side. But one time I was the only male teacher in the pre-K program, the at-risk pre-K program in Hamilton County. And I've also was TADAC Counselor of the Year 1 year in this county. And I've seen a lot. The one thing I didn't see today, I heard sticking up for people who had death threats. I've heard strong arm comments, and I've heard I just got a speech about how we need to be, respect for everybody. But I have not heard one person from this board assure anybody in this room that the children are going to be protected. And I have to say, as a father of 3, and my daughter just newly married and maybe choosing to have grandchildren, and that not one of you are interested in our concerns for the children, apparently, but you're very interested in assuring that you're not picking on anyone. It's in the Army, we call that CYA, and you can fill the rest in. But I would really like to see some kind of urgency for our children on this board. Thank you.
Any one else wishing? See the chief of police. Hang on now. You got outranked, buddy.
Somebody
Got
else,
outranked.
if they
Chief?
want to finish, somebody else want to speak.
Would you like to
first?
speak before the chief?
Go ahead. Go ahead. Ooh, I'm nervous. Okay. Hi there. Happy Tuesday to all. My name is Josue Carrillo, And I used to live in District 9, but now District 8. Congratulations to the new elected chair. I enjoy watching these meetings from the comforts of my own home, along with great company of my cat. It's refreshing to see where the city is steering towards. But there's just one glitch. Last week's meeting was very long because the public was complaining about our city. What's crazy, this administration that claims to be working in the best interest of Chattanooga 1 is only working in its own interest because one person sitting in the air conditioning area gets a headache. From the looks of it, these are fellow Chattanoogans that are breaking their backs in this blistering sun to keep this Chattanooga 1 agenda running. What did the city do? They said, we're going to change your pay periods whether you like it or not. Plus, we don't need the permission of council to make these changes. You changed people's lives because someone was inconvenienced. Excuse me, I wrote this. Well, that's wrong that these workers gave a good portion of their lives to this city only to get slapped in the face. This meeting was more than an hour long and I watched it 3 times last Tuesday night. The next morning, this city council meeting was edited and gone. I don't believe that we should be censored from watching what's going on in our city. I would like this video tonight to be fully uploaded so everyone can watch it. I'm also a member of the LGBT community. And as much as it hurts to say this, I will never forget what a local muralist artist told me. Don't set yourself up to be a victim. Whoever thought it was okay to have a drag show at a brewery and call it kid-friendly was pure lack of judgment.
Chief.
Yes, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to make sure that I clear if there's any thought process behind it, if anything is being done. I first just want to say is that I came here to do one job, and that's to make Chattanooga safe. That's for children, that's for people of any demographic, adults, people that probably sometimes don't even deserve it. But that's what I came here to do, and that's what I'm going to do. So if there's any concern about the issue that happened, it's being addressed just as well as anything revolving around that situation is always going to be addressed. So I'm here for everybody. And I don't operate in opinions or feelings, I operate in the law. And if there's any law that's broken, it will be addressed. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Hit your light. Dr. Burrs.
So I've listened very carefully to all of this, and I want to thank each one of you for coming forward, for speaking. That's what a democracy is about. What I was going to say was what the chief said so eloquently, and that is it's a matter of law enforcement. We have checks and balances in government. Sometimes it's frustrating with the executive, the judicial, and the legislative. We're the legislative. I'm so proud of every one of you, no matter what you had to say, that you came and said it. I celebrate democracy. But you asked for something more. You asked for us to speak up where we stand. So I'm going to do that. The chief stole my thunder as far as law enforcement. We are even-handed, and no one here should live in fear, not anyone. Please don't be afraid to report any threats that you have, no matter what your sexual orientation, whether you're Republican, Democrat, conservative, whatever. We want this to be a safe community, and no one should live in fear, nor should anyone live in fear that children somehow are being misdirected or mistreated. So thank you for bringing that up. The second thing that I want you to hear clearly for me is I support the rights of everyone here to live the lives freely that they choose to live, so long as there's not harm to other people. And one of the things that makes me sad is that the harm of hate to some people that choose to behave differently from others is that they take their own lives because they feel they're not worthy. My religious beliefs are at the background of everything I do. We were taught that if God gives you gifts, they're not because you're so special. They're to use for repair of the world, not hate. To repair the world. And the only way we can repair the world is to live collaboratively with the same love and respect that God has given us. When we allow hate for differences to enter the picture, we're selling God short. That's not what we're here for. I believe that what you came here to say is very sincere. And no way would I question what you came here to say. What I would question are any innuendos that in any way show hate for people who are different, who cause them to live in fear, or cause anyone to think, regardless of race, religion, ethnicity, sexual orientation, politics, whatever, anyone to feel that they're second rate. We can not only be okay if there's others we can hate. That's not what God meant, or at least what my God meant. So I want to thank you very much for being here. I want you thank you very much for exhibiting your bravery, for talking about differences, and for standing up, those of you who said, what about our children? I can assure you that the crimes or suspected crimes that may have been committed are well in the hands of our chief and our police department. Our role is to make sure that this is a city legislatively that everyone can live in safely, securely, and free to act to repair the world however they see best. Thank you for taking time to listen to me for a minute. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Burrs. Before I entertain a motion to adjourn this evening, I too want to thank each and every person in this room for coming down and sharing your beliefs. That's exactly what this meeting is for. And it's difficult sometimes. You may not like me for saying what I need to say to keep this meeting where this meeting needs to go, and that's to represent everybody in this district, everybody in this city. Not just your group, not just this group, that group. This meeting is for you to come and tell us, and it's for us to hear. And I've heard a lot of very, very important things that I will take home tonight. And I thank you for that. But I just want to appreciate what each and every one of you have had to say tonight. I promise you, I've listened to every word. And it's very important what you have to say. And thank God we have a place in our world that we can come and share those opinions without fear. That's what I'm most grateful for. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion to adjourn. We are adjourned.